حقا لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الواحد الفرد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده رسوله صلوا عليه اللهم صل وسلم. أدى الأمانة وبلغ الرسالة وتركنا على المحجة البيضاء، فجزى الله نبينا عنا خير ما جزى به نبيا عن أمته ورسولا عن رسالته. أما بعد، فإني سمعت الله يقول: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا الله لا تأخذ أرواحنا إلا ونحن مسلمين يا أرحم الراحمين. I have heard my Lord say, O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah, be conscientious of Allah in your actions and deed. Be in the state of remembrance of Allah, and do not die but a Muslim, which is our really last hope, inshallah. But which is actually what I really wanted to talk to you about. As we get older in age, we start reflecting on the last few days in our lives and how we're gonna spend that, and whether we're gonna fulfill this ayah that we're not gonna die but a Muslim on the faith of Tawheed. The issue at hand is the issue of thabat, steadfastness, standing by your principles. I don't know, many of you know me, but I'm very active in so many fields, subhanallah. And what really always upsets me, as well as many of my friends, is how many of our colleagues, when it comes to really hard decisions, they feel that they must negotiate and change their positions on things that Allah has already decided upon. I mean, you can interpret things, but if it's very clear day and night, wouldn't you wanna fulfill what Allah wants? Or is my spouse more important than Allah? Is it what he wants is more important than Allah? Is it what she wants and how she wants to conduct herself is more important than Allah? Is my boss more important than Allah? Is my coalition into a work that we're working on more important than Allah? Yani subhanallah, in December, I think I mentioned this before to you, I had the privilege of going to Umrah with my brother. We went to Mecca and then Medina. Then, the first time in over 3 decades, I actually visited Jordan. It was only a short visit for 4 days, so on the morning of the 3rd day, we hardly saw a few people. He said, why don't we go to visit Al-Aqsa? I mean, you're a citizen, you can do it. I said, yes, let's do it. In a matter of probably 45 minutes, we were in a taxi. I mean, I didn't take anything. I just wanted to go. And then we went, a family of 9 of us. SubhanAllah, for different reasons, they all were sent back except for me. And it was the night of Jummah, Thursday night before. And I attended the prayer and went to meet with the merchants, and I was very surprised with their generosity, immense generosity. Like when you go to Mecca, you see the merchants. When you go to Medina, you see nicer merchants and sweeter merchants. But when you go to the Aqsa, then you see generosity. You understand the concept of barakah. If you buy one thing for 1 kilo, he has to give you at least another quarter a kilo bonus. And you wonder, this is enough, this is more than enough. So why am I mentioning this? Because of what transpired on the very first day, which was the next day, was Jum'ah, and I only had 24 hours to spend. So I said, I'm going to just invest it in Al-Aqsa because I heard there's going to be some commotion. And I said, let me smuggle myself inside. And if the whole world go crazy, it's none of my business. I just want to enjoy that experience. So I went, it was like 4:20 a.m., did the Qiyam. And then we did the Fajr. Then shortly after Fajr, everybody bringing breakfast and coffee and tea. This is one thing you don't have to worry about. That's the only masjid in the world where you can live there for 50 days and you don't need to bring food with you because everybody's going to feed you consistently. Because they have this concept of ribat, this concept of thabat, this concept that we going to go inside and we're going to hold our position and we're going to prove to the world that this is a Muslim place and we're going to hold tight to it. And we're going to stand there maybe 3 days, 4 days, 7 days until another group will come and take our place. So we can hold on, we can do the thabat, we can do the steadfastness, right? So between Fajr prayer, just after Fajr, I think an hour, probably by 7 a.m., all the way till midday, till Khutbah al-Jum'ah, I must have listened to about 15 fiery speeches because every town and every city brings their own imam. And they are very smart, the management of the Masjid al-Aqsa, that they allow for them to all give their own khutbah. So every 10 minutes you're hearing a new khutbah. And I was just beyond amazed, like a whole nation, a genuine whole nation. Every little one of them, every old one of them, every middle age, every religious one of them, every secular one of them believes that what they're going through is just a passing disgrace. This is not going to last. As one older man told me, you know, their settlements, they're above my town. And I've seen them building it. And when you go to the West Bank, every town, every city, the land belongs to the locals. And the mountain belongs to the other occupying force. And I said, why do you want that? What's up? What do you want? He said, I just really hope that they're putting air conditioning units inside these apartments. I said, why do you care about that? He said, because when we take it over, we'd like to have it as air conditioned. You know, it's just a matter of time. Just believe me, it's a matter of time. It gets hot in the summer. I really hope that all these apartments have air conditioning. And just the mindset, it just blew me away. And then, subhanallah, you come back here and you face dunya, right? And you see what it means to have thabat. And you see how constantly you ask on negotiating on our principles, on what believe in. So I want to invite you to look at this ayah, because this is a very scary ayah. I think we all pass by it and we just don't give it much of thought. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تتخذوا أيمانكم دخلا بينكم فتزل قدم بعد ثبوتها. For what happened? فتزل قدم بعد ثبوتها وتذوقوا السوء بما صددتم عن سبيل الله ولكم عذاب عظيم. And do not take your oaths as means of deceit between you, lest a foot slip after it was once firm. Very interesting. And you would taste evil in this world, for that people you diverted from the way of Allah, and you would have in the hereafter a great punishment. So Allah is saying that, you know, subhanAllah, you meet with your people and you meet with yourself. And at one point in time, you remember that you were firm, and one moment of time you were so and so, and one moment of time you might have even gone the wrong way. No, that Allah is not talking about this. He's talking about people who actually have thabat, who have their faith as was thabit, who stood on their principles in their life, and who decided, I'm gonna be on the side of Allah, even if I make my wife angry, even if I make my kids angry, even if I make my coalition partners angry, even if it's very unpolitically correct to stand on this foot. And if I stand on it, I'm going to lose a lot of people, and we're going to do the calculation. Allah will understand. No, Allah doesn't need to understand. Allah does not need to understand. You need to understand. We need to understand. And subhanAllah, I work a lot in the civic world and activism. And I keep on finding myself pulling out of so many coalitions because, subhanAllah, everybody's selling out because everybody wants to do what's politically correct. How about what is Allah correct? Do you know that there is an ayah in the Quran that is directed specifically towards our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, sallu alayhi? And this ayah is this ayah alone is a proof that he is a prophet, that he didn't make it up. Because this ayah has a serious threat and a reminder, both a reminder and a threat. Threat from whom? From the divine, the one who created this whole show. To whom? To his best creation. What does he say? لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. وقال الذين كفروا لولا نزلت عليه آية وتزل قدم بعد ثباتها. ولو أنهم وإن كنت لتركن إليهم شيئا قليلا وإن كنت لتركن لهم شيئا قليلا ولولا ثبتناك. The ayah says, if we had not made your foot stand firm, O you, my Prophet Muhammad, you almost would have negotiated a little with them. Wow, so if the Prophet needs reminder, what do we have to do? Like if the Prophet, Allah is telling him, you almost were gonna negotiate with them on your principles, but we made you have the thabat. So, what does thabat means? Thabat, the problem is it requires action. And you know, the moment you sign up to La ilaha illallah, that's a very active statement. La ilaha illallah. I'm gonna take all the other gods that are in my heart, throw them out. Starts with a negative. It does not start with a positive. First, I have to empty my heart, and then I'm going to have to put Allah in my heart. And when I put Him in my heart, I have to have loyalty towards Him. And I have to be obedient, and I have to stand by Him. Just like our brothers right now in India are standing for their deen. Just like our brothers right now in Palestine are standing for their deen. They're fighting the fight. Subhanallah, both countries, I feel like the Muslims are left alone to their own demise. You got it on your own, this, and that's your business. I think that we all need to visit Jerusalem to just learn what thabat means, so we really can pull it together here. So Allah talks on this ayah, subhanallah, ولو أنهم فعلوا ما يوعظون به لكان خيرا لهم وأشد تثبيتا. But if they had done what they were instructed, it would have been better for them and a firmer position for them in faith. So if they have listened and practiced the ilm they've done, we come back, we talk the good talk, we do the good worship. Alhamdulillah, we just finished a boot camp, Ramadan, and we're walking out with it. But what is the result of this all spiritual charging that we've done? The result ought to be, in my opinion, that you're going to do the ilm. You're going to, with this ilm that you learned, you're going to actually be active. Active in your society, active to establish to our mission on planet Earth, which is يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله. سورة المائدة or سورة النساء يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط. O you who believe, stand firm for Allah and be with the side of qist, which is justice with plus equity. Or يا أيها الذين آمنوا, stand firm with justice and be standing with firms and equity. So Allah, subhanallah, interchange Himself with the word qist. In one ayah, you have to stand with Allah, and the other one, stand with qist, which means if you stand with one, you're standing with Allah. The problem is, we find ourselves in many times where we're really, subhanallah, al-fitanun, like Allah say, you know, and the man wakes up in the morning, he's mu'min, and the night time, within 8, 9, 10 hours of the daytime, he's a kafir. And sleeps a mu'min and wakes up a kafir. And then the Prophet says, so that the hadith says, بادروا بالحسنات يصح الرجل مؤمنا ويموت ويمسي كافرا ويمسي مؤمنا ويموت كافرا And he says, why? يَبِيعُ دِينَهُ بِعَرَضٍ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. He sells his religion for a small piece of earth. And what is that selling called? That is when your foot slips. And that is what the ayah is saying. I know you're going to get your foot firm and it might slip. So what might cause a foot to slip? An imam was once asked, this man of ours, this friend of ours, he was on the right faith, he was on the right path, and he slipped away. And the imam said it's one of two things. Number one, he might have never asked Allah with conscientious question, just like you ask for rizq, you ask for your kids, you ask for this. He may have never asked Allah for thabat and took thabat as given, or he has never thanked Allah for the ni'mat al-thabat. So I want to bring to consciousness this concept of thabat, this concept of steadfastness, this concept, I'm going to do what's right, even if it means I lose a piece of my business, even if it means I lose this piece, even if it means I lose this legislation that I worked for, even I'm going to just stand with firm light. And I mentioned last time, right now we have fitna ka qita'ul layl. We have this piece of dark night fitna that is in every one of your household. And you cannot escape it by going to any other Western country. Heck, you cannot escape it even if you go to a lot of the Muslim countries. And that fitna, we mentioned, this fitna of LGBTQ and gender politics and he, him, she, them, subhanallah. When Allah said, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَى وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. O you mankind, we have created you from a male and female. And I've always wondered, why does Allah have to spell it out? Isn't it very clear? Apparently no. Right now, it's a rainbow. A kid who's 4 or 5 years old is being told at school that you might be a boy, you might have all the instruments of a boy, but guess what? You actually might be a girl. It's okay. And if you're a girl, it's okay. And if it's a girl, we want you to know we accept you as it is. Why? So we can put the seed of doubt in this little kid's heart. So when he's 15, 16 years old, besides having to deal with religiosity or non-religiosity, is there a God or that? I'm a Muslim, I'm a practicing Muslim, I'm an American who's Muslim original, I'm a Muslim American. He has to deal with all of that, fitna. He has to deal with raging hormones. She has to deal with raging hormones. And now we have to deal with a third fitna, which our generation didn't have to deal with. Am I a boy or a girl? Am I a boy or a girl? So alhamdulillah, that's why we really need to practice thabat. Because it's not politically correct right now. Any of you who work in corporate America, can you even mention a word on this subject? Subhanallah, you violate, you'll be fired right away. This diversity and inclusion politics and this and that, we need to practice thabat. So, what will bring thabat to us? There are 5 things that the Quran mentions about the subject of thabat. Number 1, the Quran itself. We gotta start making friendship with this book, this divine word of Allah. Subhanallah, Allah himself says to his prophet, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقال الذين كفروا لولا نزل عليه القرآن جملة واحدة كذلك لنثبت به فؤادك ونزلناه تنزيلا. So, and those who believe say, why was the Quran not revealed to him at all at once? Thus it is that we may strengthen thereby your heart, and we have spaced it distinctly. So we get it in pieces, so we can give you thabat in the heart. Otherwise, with immense pressure, immense political pressure on you, existential pressure on you and your group. And you remember, he had to do plan B. He has to send, most of his Sahaba went to Abyssinia just because he's worried, 12, 13 years, here I am here, and guess what? I only have 100 people following me. We could be wiped out in 5 minutes. Subhanallah. So he had to even do plan B. So in order for him to face that immense political pressure on him, existential pressure, Allah had to give him thabat with the Quran. We gotta have to start finding time during the day, 3 pages of the Quran, read them. Wallahi, they will fix you. Even if you don't get the ma'na completely. Guess what? Because there is something that it will fix the chemistry of your heart, the chemistry of your chest. It'll take away all that anxiety and that depression. Number 2, reading seerahs and stories of the Prophet. Reading seerahs and stories. Why is Musa's stories mentioned over 300 times in the Quran? It's like almost 330 times, the most mentioned story. Almost every surah in the Quran has an excerpt of the story of Moses, because it's a story of challenges. It's a story of a person who was under immense pressure, facing the superpower of the world with the highest technology of the world, technology where we don't even have today, right? And then he has to this. And they get to the Red Sea and they say, Inna la mudrakun, and he says, and they can see the army of Pharaoh, the biggest army in the world. And what do they have? They're going to fight with their shoes? What are they going to fight with their hands? And he, Kalla, verily not, verily not. Inna ma'i rabbi sayahdeen. My Lord is with me and he will guide me. Tell me that is not thabat. How many times in our life we face that condition? How many times in our life we're faced with a severe conflict at our homes over whether this Allah is accepting this or Allah. And we have to deal with our husbands and with our wives who really want to take it to the wrong place. How could you practice thabat? If you cannot convince him, my advice to you is, whether the party is a male or female, just have sabr and pray to God that He will guide the heart of this, but stay, do what is right by Allah, do what is right. We really have to start to practice that, because the Prophet, Allah Himself, He says, after a foot is firm, it could slip. And if it slips, it's going to go to Jahannam. So what do we do with all these prayers and all these Ramadans and after we've achieved that level? Number 3 is practicing what you have learned, doing amal al-khair, investing some of your time in doing the right thing for the sake of Allah, practicing work for a non-profit, work for a good deed, whether it will help you establish political justice, economic justice, criminal justice, environmental justice, justice for our brothers who are being prosecuted right now in India, justice for our brothers being prosecuted as we speak right now. Gaza is being bombarded. Whatever it takes for you, just work towards a goal. You want economic justice, you want to feed the people, but you have to do something. We cannot come to Allah and say we didn't have time, because that is, I'm not sure that it's going to fly. No, you had time, but you wanted a higher standard of living. So in order, in exchange for a higher standard of living, you had to sell 80% of your day, and now you have no time for amal khair. That is what happened. Don't tell Allah that I had no time. You could have downsized to a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and reduced from 3 cars to 1 car, and then you would have had the time to do with amal al-khair. And then, by doing the amal al-khair, you will have earned the issue of the thabat. وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ فَعَلُوا مَا يُعَظُونَ بِهِ لَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُمْ وَأَشَدَّ تَثْبِيتًا. And if they had done what they were instructed, it would have been better for them and a firmer position. It gives them the thabat. Number 4, the dua. You have to ask for thabat. We have to ask for thabat. Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala ta'atik. We have to ask Allah. Listen to this beautiful dua. This dua is actually narrated, this hadith, subhanallah. I found it in the Nisa'i with sanad sahih and in many others. And the Prophet says that he used to do this dua, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that he used to do this dua in every salah. So I don't know if he did it in the sujood with this, but in every salah. Listen to this. It starts with the same request. Allahumma inni as'aluka al-thabata fil amr. Oh my Lord, I ask you the thabat in amr, the steadfastness in my decision making, in whatever I'm doing today. Give me the steadfastness. وَالْعَزِيمَةَ عَلَى الرُّشْدِ, and give me an ability to have the desire to stay on rashad and rushd. وَأَسْأَلُكَ شُكْرَ نِعْمَتَكَ, and I ask you to have shukr for ni'matak. وَحُسْنَ عِبَادَتِكَ, and I ask you to have حسن العبادة. وَأَسْأَلُكَ قَلْبًا سَلِيمًا وَلِسَانًا صَادِقًا وَأَسْأَلُكَ مِنْ خَيْرِ مَا تَعْلَمُ وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا تَعْلَمُ وَأَسْتَغْفِرُكَ لِمَا تَعْلَمُ. Dua, that's the number 4 tool. We said Quran, We said the stories of the Prophet, we have to keep on going back and remember how they dealt with their daily challenges, not just spiritual, but really daily challenges. We talked about ilm and practicing the ilm and giving time to us to do the right things, to do volunteering for one cause. Just there's 50,000 causes that will guide you to heaven, but you have to do it, because if you don't do it, and then you're really very easily shakeable, right? Number 4, we said the dua, and number 5, and it's not least important, is as important. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. We have to be in a group. We have to remind ourselves that we hold on to the haqq and we hold on to the patience. A sister is going through a hard time with her husband. The other sister must have to really have thabat, because holding the Muslim family is very difficult in a non-Muslim world. The challenges of divorce, the challenges of this, we have to hold on to whatever it takes to hold our families together. And then the last thing is الرفقة الصالحة. Without good companionship, you could be directed to the other ways. واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه ولا تعد عيناك عنهم تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا ولا تطع من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا واتبع هواه وكان أمره فرطا. You have, Allah is asking us to have sabr with those who worship Allah in the early morning and at night, and do not get your eye away from them, like do not intermingle with the others if they're going to waste your time. Those who really want zinatul hayatul dunya, they want the zina of the hayat, they want the accumulation, the hoarding process. More is better, when more is really bad for you. وَلَا تُطِعْ مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَبْلَهُ. And do not have obeying of those who have given the dhikr of Allah and they have followed their hawa and their وَكَانَ أَمْرُهُمْ فُرُطًا, and their whole thing was falling apart. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم استغفروه لي وللباب. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. يا الله يا أرحم الراحمين, guide our hearts, guide the hearts of our kids, our children, our wives, our husbands, to practice your religion, to really have, Ya Allah, the desire to have thabat, not to be diverted, not to be slipped away from you. Ya Allah, do not take our souls without us leaving us being Muslim. Ya Allah, take our souls when we're really Muslim on your dunya and we have not sold out your religion, Ya Allah, for any worldly gain. Ya Allah, give us the thabat fi hayatina, give us thabat in our households, give us a thabat in our corporation, our businesses, give us a thabat in our streets, give us a thabat in our masajid. Ya Allah, bring mercy to our masajid. Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. وقيموا صلاتكم يا شيخ.